Today, even a cassette seems like a technical mistake. A narrow magnetic tape moves at a speed of less than 5 centimeters per second, hisses, gradually wears out and can get stuck in the mechanism. But in the second half of the 20th century, engineers turned this extremely limited medium almost into a work of art. For a good recording, it wasn't enough to just press 2 buttons. You had to choose the right tape, adjust the bias current, set the level, and sometimes calibrate each channel separately. And inside the best devices there were several motors, 2 capstans, 3 magnetic heads, and complex noise reduction systems at work. Some decks were made for home music systems, others for studios, radio stations, theaters, stores, and for mass cassette duplication. Today we have 12 devices from different eras in front of us, from relatively simple home models to machines that tried to make compact cassettes sound almost like professional reel-to-reel recordings. Greetings, dear friends, I am Arkady Zenin from Premium Hi-Fi. We are in Riga, and everything you see on the screen can be heard in our studio. Let's start with one of the last serious cassette decks from Akai, the GX95 model. This is not just an ordinary home player, but a high-class 3-head deck. A separate recording head and a separate playback head allow you to instantly compare the original signal with what has already been recorded on the tape during recording. The main signature feature of Akai is its glass ferrite heads. They are highly wear resistant, the surface wears down more slowly from the tape, and the parameters remain stable for a longer time. Here, a closed-loop dual capstan transport is also used, which reduces the influence of the cassette itself on the tape movement. Owners especially praise the GX95 for its tight bass, well-defined mids, airy highs, and stable speed. With proper adjustment, recording on a metal tape is already hard to distinguish from the original source. This was a home deck for the demanding listener, but in terms of design, it came close to semi-professional equipment. The GX-F35 shows another side of the cassette era. It's not an extremely expensive flagship, but a solid home deck from the early 80s. It has 2 heads. One erases the old recording, and the other is responsible for both recording and playback at the same time. The device works with standard chrome and metal tapes. The wow and flutter coefficient is less than 0.04%. In other words, the tape speed changes so slightly that sustained notes from a piano or synthesizer shouldn't noticeably fluctuate in pitch. The GX-F35 already has electronic transport control and bright-colored keys, which were typical for devices of that era. Owners describe it as beautiful, nice-sounding, and quite reliable after replacing the belts, pinch roller, and rewind rubber wheel. These are the models that were most often found at home next to the amplifier and the record player. People used them to record friends' albums, concerts from the radio, and their own compilations for the car. On the outside, the GX-F80 looks quite modest, but inside it hides an exceptionally serious mechanism. This is a 3-head deck weighing almost 9 kg with 2 motors, electronic control, and support for metal tape. Its frequency range on a good cassette extends from about 25 Hz to 21,000 Hz. The upper limit is even slightly above the conventional range of human hearing. This doesn't mean that we will necessarily hear 21,000 hits. The point is something else. The deck preserves a smooth, clean high end of the audible range without rolling it off too early. At the same time, the GX-F80 lacks automatic calibration and some of the impressive features of later models. Its strength lies in its mechanics, 3 heads, and durable glass ferrite cores. Owners describe the device as heavy, exceptionally well built, and unexpectedly high quality. This is a typical deck for a music enthusiast passionate about recording, who valued not the number of buttons but the process itself and the result. GX-R35 was created for convenience. The letter R here indicates automatic tape direction reversal. After finishing the first side, the device could continue playing the second side without flipping the cassette. This is a two-head model that supports standard chrome and metal tapes. With a metal cassette, the claimed range is up to 18,000 Hz. With the Dolby C noise reduction system enabled, the signal-to-noise ratio reaches 71 decibels. In practice, this means that tape hiss becomes much less noticeable during pauses and quiet musical passages. However, automatic reverse has always been a compromise. The combined record playback head must work precisely when the tape moves in both directions. And achieving perfect alignment of its position is more difficult than in a conventional one-way mechanism. Users describe the sound of the GX-R35 as pleasant, with good deep bass, although not flagship level. Such a deck was convenient at home, in an office, or in a small cafe where the music needed to play longer without human intervention. Akai GX-C710D. We're looking at the mid-70s, a time of large analog meters, wooden side panels and heavy mechanical buttons. The deck is designed not only for regular chrome tape, but also for ferrochrome tape. This type of cassette tried to combine the advantages of both magnetic compounds, but it never became widespread. On ferrochrome tape, Akai provided a range of approximately 30 Hz to 17 kHz. Wow and flutter is 0.08% and non-linear distortion is about 1.5%. For later equipment, this is modest, but in the mid-70s, such figures were considered quite respectable. Here, it's not just about recording, but also about the experience of using the deck, the click of the button, the movement of the needles, the open cassette compartment. Such decks were bought for home music systems, and recordings were often made from vinyl records or radio broadcasts. Owners value the GX-C710D precisely for its solid construction and the distinctive sound of that era. The L-Page name is far less well known than Pioneer or Akai. In fact, this is an Alpine brand, and the company later became famous primarily for its car audio equipment. And the LL300 was an extremely advanced deck at the turn of the 70s and 80s. 3 heads, 2 motors, 2 capstans, and separate calibration for the left and right channels. Built-in test signals allowed you to adjust tape sensitivity and bias current before starting work. The most unusual feature was the removable control panel. You could take it out and use it as a wired remote. For its time, it looked almost futuristic. The device supported all 4 types of tape that existed at the time, and the frequency range reached up to 22,000 Hz. French audiophile magazines rated the model highly, and modern owners describe it as heavy, superb sounding, and undeservedly overlooked. It was an expensive home device with features that rivaled equipment for a small studio. Pioneer CT506 is an example of a beautiful and practical home deck from the late 70s. There are no 3 heads, complex calibration, or multiple motors here, but it does have a metal front panel, large analog meters, and straightforward mechanical controls. The model was produced approximately from 1978 to 1980 and cost about 500 marks in Germany. That means it was in the affordable range of the brand's lineup. It was intended for regular household tasks, taping a record, putting together a mixtape, or recording an interesting radio broadcast. It was on such devices that the cassette became an everyday medium, not just an expensive technical toy. Users note that the CT506 sounds especially pleasant with high-quality chrome tape. Of course, an example today will almost certainly require new belts, cleaning of the mechanism, and head adjustment. This model is interesting because the magic of the cassette here comes not from record-breaking specs, but from its simplicity, design, and the direct involvement of the owner in creating each recording. But the CTF1000 is the complete opposite of the previous model. This is one of the main cassette flagships of Pioneer in the 1970s and a direct competitor to the best Nakamichi models of that time. It features 3 heads, 2 motors, and a closed tape path with 2 capstans. It has a 400 Hz test tone, bias adjustment, playback speed control, and separate noise reduction circuits for recording and playback. The magnetic heads are made of monocrystalline ferrite. The manufacturer aimed to achieve a smooth and durable working surface without boundaries between individual crystals. Owners call the CTF-1000 one of the best-built Pioneer decks. Heavy, expensive, and built with virtually no cost-cutting. Today, this complexity leads to serious repairs. Clutches, belts, switches, motors, and numerous capacitors are aging. At the time, it was a prestigious home tape recorder for someone who wanted to get an almost studio-quality result from a cassette. The second version of the Revox B710 wasn't built as an ordinary consumer deck, but as a scaled-down professional machine. The Revox company was associated with the studio brand Studer, and this is clearly noticeable in the design. There are 4 motors operating in the mechanism. 2 separate motors drive the reels, and 2 more directly drive the capstans. A belt between the motor and the shaft is not needed, so the speed is controlled with exceptional precision. In a 1983 review, the device cost almost $2,000 in the US. That was an enormous amount for a cassette tape recorder. But the B710 offered electronic controls, a 3-head design, precise color indicators, and in the second version, a Dolby C noise reduction system. Such machines were used not only at home, they could be found in broadcast facilities, studios, control rooms, and institutions where reliable playback and constant speed were required. Owners call the B710 one of the best transport systems, but they warn, an old unit requires serious maintenance of the motors, rollers, and electronic components. After restoration, it is still an exceptionally impressive deck. Tascam 302 was not created for the audiophile who admires analog meters. It's a workhorse with 2 independent cassette bays and auto reverse. The manual clearly states its purpose: continuous playback of background music and cassette copying. One mechanism could stop, after which the second would continue playback. That's why such devices were useful in stores, restaurants, and hotels, exhibition halls, theaters, and small radio stations. 2 cassettes could be recorded simultaneously, or material could be copied from one to the other. Several devices could be connected together to produce a large number of copies. In the magazine review by Sound on Sound, the recording quality was described as clean and bright, although slight speed instability could appear on particularly sensitive material. Here, the main focus is not on trying to achieve absolute realism, but on functionality. 2 independent machines in one case designed for long-term daily operation. This is a cassette deck as industrial equipment. Technics RS641. It gives the impression of a tank. The device weighed about 9.5 kilograms. That's unusually heavy for a 2-head cassette deck. It was produced in the late 70s and belonged to a period when manufacturers were not yet trying to make components as light and compact as they do today. The massive body, large controls, and analog meters create an almost laboratory-like feeling. At that time, such a deck was primarily intended for a serious home system, recording vinyl records, radio concert broadcasts, and exchanging music cassettes. But the age is especially noticeable on the mechanical controls. Owners of the RS641 talk about crackling and signal loss due to dirty switches and controls. After cleaning the contacts and servicing the mechanism, the device can return to normal operation. The RS641 is interesting not because of its record-breaking high-frequency response, but because of the engineering philosophy of its time. In front of us is a heavy device designed for repair, adjustment, and many years of use, not for replacing an entire module after the first minor malfunction. Rounding out the selection is the Yamaha TC520, which was produced approximately from 1978 to 1980. This is a two-head home deck weighing 7.5 kg featuring Yamaha's signature restrained design. With a standard tape, the frequency range reaches about 13,000 Hz, and with chrome or Ferrochrome tape, up to 15,000 Hz. The wow and flutter is less than 0.05%. For the listener, this means a fairly stable sound of piano, acoustic guitars, and long synthesizer notes without noticeable pitch wavering. There is a manual bias adjustment on the front panel. It allowed the device to be matched with a specific cassette. A value that was too low resulted in an overly bright and distorted treble, while a value that was too high muffled the high frequencies. Users of the surviving TC520 note its clean, pleasant playback and convenient design. This was a deck for someone who wanted to have control over recording, but wasn't willing to pay for the complexity of a professional device. It was this sensible mid-range segment that made high-quality cassette recording mainstream. And yet, cassette recorders are not just about technical specifications, mechanisms, and numbers. For many of us, it's a part of life. We grew up with cassettes. We recorded music from the radio. We copied albums from friends. We made our own compilations. We labeled the cases. We rewound the tape with a pencil. And we pressed those heavy mechanical buttons with real satisfaction. Sometimes the recording turned out less than perfect. Sometimes the cassette got chewed up. But the process itself gave us emotions that we miss a little today. My first cassette recorder was an Electronica 302, the one where you had to hold down the rewind button. I'm sure you also had a tape recorder that stayed with you for life. Write in the comments which model you used, what did you record on it, and which cassette deck made the biggest impression on you. Maybe your story will become the topic of one of our next videos. This has been Arcade Zenin and Premium Hi-Fi. We are located in Riga, and you can listen to and test everything you see on the screen in our store. That's all, and may the force of the sound that's right for you be with you. Come visit us.